Hey Google, restart video.
Hey everyone, Scott Innes, voice actor, Hollywood actor, movie star. Don't believe all that. I'm a legend in my own mind. Hey, you know me better as the voice of some of the most popular cartoon characters in the world. Scooby-Dooby-Doo! Scrappy-Dooby-Doo! Puppy Power! Blanket Shaggy too! And you've got the Sullivan Project podcast. It's coming at you right now.
Hey Google, stop. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Sullivan Project podcast. And I'm your host, Harold Sullivan, and we got Chris back here with us. What's up, Chris?
What's up, everybody?
We had a Penguin game a couple of days ago, and we had not too much going on around this area, but we'll talk to you and see what's up with you. Hey Google, turn your volume to 50%. If y'all want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, hit us up on YouTube, Harold Sullivan 78, TikTok, Harold Sullivan 78, and Facebook, Harold Sullivan period 35. And you can email hs19782015 at outlook.com and call 724-513-1472. And we'll do guest audio or video. If you got anything you just want to say or comment, share, like, we appreciate anything. Positivity around here, love and light. That's how we do it. So, but yeah, we were just talking about what happened to Penguin game the other day. So they actually had Yager back, right?
Yeah.
And because remember I said a couple months ago I had heard about they were bringing him back, and he looked good skating out there. They were like, he could get right out there and play now, huh? Is that what it looked like?
Looked like it.
He was out there skating real good with the team before, because they don't usually do that, right? When they induct somebody, they put his number up there. So is it just him and Lemieux's number up in the rafter?
I think so, yeah.
Because they only got two Penguins, right? 68, 66, 68. Yeah, because I actually cried with Lemieux, and then he came back again. He got me a couple of times, man. When they played, when he retired, remember, and they played Simply the Best. They did that whole, when Lemieux retired, they did that whole thing. Then he ended up coming back in 2003, was it, or 2000? He retired and came back like 3 or 4 years later. But yeah, they did that whole Simply the Best. They did that tribute. I teared up. I was like, oh my gosh, Lemieux. He didn't get to play enough, Because if you go back and you his stats, right, Lemieux's stats, and you put him with Gretzky, of course. Lemieux played like half the games because he was injured and he had cancer, and so if you put his stats right up there with Gretzky, he'd be right up there with. But Gretzky's so far ahead as far as assists. He has like 2,000 over 2,000 assists, or close to 2,000 assists. Gretzky has more assists than anybody else has points. And then Yager is actually second. They mentioned that, right? Yager is second all time. And but if you go by like Major League hockey, if you add all of Yager's career together, he has the most points, I believe. If you add, his whole career, like Russia, everything, he has more than Gretzky. If you add Gretzky and then you add World Hockey he was with before the NHL, right? The Oilers before they came. So Yager actually, and he's still playing too over in Russia. But
yeah.
That would have been cool, man. I missed it. I put the radio on late because we were doing some stuff on the computer, running into problems, just printing a piece of paper. I mean, 30, 40 minutes literally. I got a new printer out, and that's how I used to say. I came up with this. If I didn't have gremlins, I wouldn't have any friends. Because electronics and just things I got to have. And literally, we were trying to print out a piece of paper, and the printer kept printing out nothing. It kept saying it was out of this or that. It was like, oh, Lord Jesus. It's just to try to print out I'm working on them Oracle cards for my God Babies Oracle card deck, God Babies Oracle card. And we wanted to try to print out just one of the photos to see if it would print. And of course, it took us that long, but oh well, we got it. We've got it figured out how to print front and back. So, but I ran into a problem with envelopes now. I just didn't think, I got black envelopes, right? To I couldn't get empty cards. And if anybody knows where to get this stuff, let me know. Like an empty card box, you know how you have playing cards and they come in a box. You would think you could get an empty one you could print out on the computer, like, and then fold it up. So I was like, well, I'll get envelopes, right? I mean, that's the best way I could do it. But I got black envelope, and I didn't think, how am I going to print on a black envelope, right? Because I was like, I'll just print the front and the back on the black envelope, and I was going to do black on white, right? I was going to do white on black, but the printers don't print white ink. The printers just leave the white part plain, like or whatever's underneath. So I was trying to print out white on the black, and it's like that. It don't show up. Jesus, I'm telling you, it's like I lost my. Sometimes I feel like since I lost my sight, I'm getting other things, but I'm losing common sense. You know what I mean? How did I think you could print out white on a black printer or on a black envelope? The printers don't print white ink. You know what I mean? But you live and you learn. So I got to get white envelopes, and I'm going to do it black on white, right? Or whatever color,
Right.
color will come out on white, because I was going to do black and white to save as far as the box. The logo is going to be black and white. That way I can save on ink, because the more color you print out, the more ink it is. So if you could do some stuff, black and white is better. So the logo I was going to do black and white, and then do a picture of one of the cards on the other side, on the reverse. But so I got to get more envelopes, and then I think we might have it. And it was hard to even get them sized down. My sister had a problem figuring out how to, because you got to take it, and I'm doing 3.5 by 5 is the smallest. I'm doing it on photo paper because I couldn't find blank cards. Again, you would think you could find blank cards, like playing cards are a little bit bigger that you could just print out on, but I had to get photos instead. So they're 3.5 by 5. And so she had to figure out how to take the picture and make it small enough, size it down so it would print out on the thing. So it was printing out too big or on the side, or, oh gosh. Well, I'm like, geez. When I used to before I lost my sight, everything was simpler. It seems like they're changing the computers now. I used to just click center, and center it on there, and I could see it. Now you can't even see a preview of what it looks like before you print it. You know what I mean? It keeps saying no preview available, so you just gotta print it and hope it looks right, which wastes the ink. But I'm working on the cards, and that's important to me because I want to have pictures of some of my god babies on the cards. Uh, Speaking of that, Danny sent me a picture of the babies on Valentine's Day. Uh, they're like, with them two dressed with like little heart outfits. One's a little over a year old, and the other baby's just a couple months. So go check that out, y'all on the podcast. Uh, and then I did a little thing for Valentine's Day for the baby, and I did a psychic reading for my second god baby, and I done one for the first one after she was born. So yeah, it's Abriella and Adeline. Talk about two angels, right? Beautiful names though. And I just spoke,
Adeline, yeah,
yeah,
that's a nice name.
Abriella, because I had never heard of Abriella. I heard of Gabriella, but Abriella and Adeline. And then I heard talk to Dan. Danny, there's two Dan. Dan, the other day, his mom has cancer. He told me to pray for her. Hey, I'm trying to tell him certain things, like, it's hard to, but he seems like he's okay. They got him on another medication. Last time I talked to him, he was on like 11 or 12, right, medications. And he's just always, he just feels like his body just, his soul's in turmoil, and he just can't sit still. And it's just like he's in a mixer. When I'm around him, I can just feel it, because he's on so many medications. He don't know what he's like. He's just everywhere. You know what I mean? It's sad. But they started him on that when he was young. What are you going to do? I mean, he has problems. Probably has some OCDs or ADDs and things like that. Bipolar things have happened to him, and but he's like, they got me in another medication that's calming me down. I'm like, okay, well, I don't believe in man's medicine, you know what I mean? But we'll see because he's been doing this for 30-some years, you know? He's younger than me and you. He's about 41, I think, Dan. And he's just been taking the pills for his whole life. And he's just, it's just sad. But anyway, yeah, his mom's got cancer. And so I said, I'll send some good wish for her, but you don't know what God's will is, right? His mom almost died before. Uh, she was in a bad accident, and this is a story I had on the podcast because I didn't know until he told me when we were talking. She almost died, and she saw Jesus, and he said, "You got to go back and take care of your kids," because she has two sons and a daughter. She was raising on her own, and she chose to come back when Dan was young, and so she got her chance. And like I told Dan, she'll be here till her time is up. Just like all of us, we're here till we got to do what we got to do, and then we're done. So she's still here, and I said, thank God every day, and love her every moment she's here. I said, because she did what she had to do, and she's still doing it, right? And then when she's done, she'll go on. But she's actually doing treatment now. She's lost her hair and all that, and she's still smoking though. She smoked a lot her whole life, and I guess the doctor said it won't really hurt, so you might as well keep smoking, right? But it's sad because she's losing her hair, and she's doing all that. And Dan says he goes over there, and he said he told her to put her hat on because he don't like to see her that way. I said, "Oh, Dad, Dad does that. He's very I don't know if the word is immature or shallow and somewhat, but he's still a lot about looks. You know what I mean? And you shouldn't judge anything. Perfection is an opinion, not in existence. And we're not we're the best, or we're not the judge, just the messengers." And Dan said, he told her to put her hat on. I said, "Dude, you should be kissing her on her forehead and loving her and giving her a hug and telling her she's beautiful. Not put your hat on. I don't want to see you that way. She's dying of cancer." You know what I mean? But you gotta love them. You know what I mean? To me, that's you understand what I'm saying there? Like
Yeah, I see it.
if it was your mom dying of cancer, would you tell her to put her hat back on, or would you be like, "Mom, I love you. Here, give her a kiss." But everybody's
Mom, I
different.
love you. Give me a kiss. Yeah.
Everybody's different. You know what I mean? He's telling her to put her hat back on because he don't want to see her that way. I said, but when she dies, you're not going to remember her that way. You're going to remember the way she was when she was healthy, and that's the way she'll come back to you. Because that's what happened with my parent. My mom, when she died, she was very sickly and stuff. And when I lost my sight and I started doing spiritual work, and I had a couple of loved ones come back to me, my mom looked younger. She like it happened a couple of times, but she got younger looking. Like one time she was a little bit younger, and then the next time she looked way younger. But I knew it was her though. So she got healthier out on the other side. And that's what they say happens. So he's going to remember her, you know, even better than she ever was. He's not going to remember her being sick with no hair. So I told him, I gave him some comfort, and you got to help him. You know what I mean? And Dan writes. One time he wrote some poetry or something. One time and read it to me on the phone. And ever since then, I've been trying to get him to write more and read it, and he won't do it. And I don't know why, but I started crying. I didn't know he could do it. I mean, I just told him one day, I said, maybe just write, try to get your feelings out, and he wrote like 4 pages or something. We read it on the phone one day. And I'm going to ask him again. Maybe he can do like a little poetry corner. Even if he don't want to read it, I'll read it for him, or I'll remember it. I'll remember it. If y'all haven't tuned in before, I lost my eyesight a couple of years ago. I was born with an autoimmune disease, and I wasn't expect to make it past a young kid. But by the grace of God or the collective, whoever, whatever you want to say, I'm here. We're all here, and it's not. I don't believe in coincidence, accident, mistake. None of that. There's something. Everything is always for something. We just don't know it all. I mean, how can we know it all? It would just blow our head off. Like, we can't know everything at once. You know what I mean? That's why I believe we got to come back. I believe in reincarnation because it's like a computer. You can't fill it all up at once, right? You got to fill it up a little bit, come back, fill it up a little bit more, come back. But we can't remember it all because it would just blow us. Our senses would just. So we remember little bits of it each time we come back, right? And that gets us to the next point. Yeah, just little. I mean, like I said, we can't figure it all. I don't know if we can figure it all out, but it's just stuff to think about. It helps me. And since I lost my sight, I got to get by. I got to figure out other stuff. But uh, so let's see here. I got a couple of notes, and oh yeah, about a couple of people here. Let's see here. So I was telling you about that man. I don't want to mention his name on here. Remember I was telling you about the other day. I'm going to mention this story though because I talked about this uh, a few months ago or so. Anyway, this man contacted me, was really nice and stuff, and spiritual and all that. And he, just a little odd to me, but like I said, I'm not the judge. I don't know. Everybody's different. So anyway, he disappears for a while, comes back, and a little bit more cocky and brash. Uh, Ego means edging God out. Okay, so that means that you're putting yourself in front of God if you have ego. And so I try not to. I don't want to have ego because I don't. There's nothing that I want or need. My reward isn't here. So anything I do, I'm trying to help others, or there's something else that's not for me. So, but this man basically is telling me that I ruined my life and I don't have to be in pain and I don't have to be blind. All these other things, and just not the way you should act, in my opinion. And very loud and even arguing and screaming with me. And I was actually going to tell him I didn't think I needed his help because I just didn't feel right with some of the stuff he was telling me. And the best thing you can do is trust yourself, what you got inside, your own instinct. Listen to you first, you know what I mean, and believe in you. And then you can take in other input, but you have the best tool. God gave you what you got inside. And other people are not right or wrong. I mean, so, but yeah, he was just telling me things. I mean, you shouldn't do that. Then saying this and that, and Jesus, and words like he was referring to himself as spirit, and like he was God instead. I was like, oh, no, 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 no. This is not something you know what I mean? The energy that type of energy I can deal with. How can you deal with someone that basically thinks that they're God? You know, and they're telling you what to do. If you don't listen to them, they don't have time for you. Like that is not godlike. Or however you want to say it, that's just not nice. So we basically ended with him yelling at me saying I love you brother or whatever, but it was one of them brother sarcastic brothers, and that's not cool. We're all brothers and sisters and related, but don't you shouldn't use the Lord in vain, like that's what they say, and that's what that was. So hey, amen for him, and he can live his life, and I just know how he is now. That's all you can do. So that's fine. Oh, and then this is something I forgot to mention. Dan hasn't seen his daughter in a couple of years, right? His ex-wife, I guess, won't let him have contact. I don't know. His ex-wife was cheating on him and all this and that. It's sad because when I ran into him years ago, after we had lost contact, I thought he was doing good. I was happy for him. He's married. He has a kid. Now his daughter's like 18, 19, getting into drugs. Won't talk to her father. You don't know what the mother says, and it's he's sad. He wants to talk to his daughter. He has no way to. I said, well, it's up to her. She can get a hold of you. She knows where you're at. But his daughter's name is Madison, and I don't, he told me before, maybe once or twice, right? And it's so odd because that's the name of one of my spirit guides, and in my past life, one of our wife, uh, and my daughter. It's very complicated unless you get into the spiritual and all that. But apparently, one of my spirit guides was a past life wife of mine, and she was also a daughter of mine in the life in the past. So people reincarnate with you, through your generations. And but she's given up that, so she just stays with me on the other side to help out now, kind of like an angel.
Right.
Yeah, kind of like an angel. You know what I mean? How we and her name was Madison too. And then I didn't even think of all that until Dan. It's like wow, I'm not. It's not the same energy or anything. I don't think, but maybe they can exist both things at the same time. Who knows? But it's just odd that the name, and the way I came up with that name is when I had my apartment in Ambridge, the first one of my first apartments. When I used to watch some ghost hunting shows, they got the meters and all that with the lights and stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm one of them believing. Well, I used to be believe when I see it when I believe it, but now I know there's stuff that you can believe in and you don't see. So, but I was like, I'm gonna try these meters out, right, and see what happens. And by golly, the stuff started working. And so I was like, well, what's your name? Blink the lights when I get to the letter. I'm trying to figure out the name, right? So I'm going through the letters, alphabet, M, because when I got to the first M, that's when it blinked. So I'm like, there's no way it's a coincidence. It's blinking whenever I'm getting letters, So I got M-A-D. So then that's when I start guessing names with M and the M-A-D. And when I got Madison, the lights started going crazy. So years ago, that's what I just started calling whatever that was, Madison, right? when I turned on the meter and I would get the lights. Plus the EVPs, I would get voices and everything on the recording. You know, you put it down, you ask a question, you turn it back on, and you have a whisper or a name. And so anyway, that's how I came up with her name. But that's just odd, Madison, Madison. It's just so. And then Ashley, I mentioned her before. It was a female, and I was interested in kind of. She, she basically comes out and tells me she's getting out of a divorce, I guess, or she's separated, and she says she's not going to be ready for anything quote romantic for a couple of years. So I'm like, that just means you ain't ready for you don't like me like that, right? Because if you could put a time or a date on something, see, women have we all talk, men and women have different codes. There's a good book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus about relationship. You know, we speak different languages, right? And so when a woman says, I'm not going to be ready for something for a couple of years, that means I ain't interested, but we can be friends, right? Because you like somebody, you like them, you don't want to, you can't say I like you, but we have to wait a couple of years. There is no that. You know, if you want to be with someone, you want to be with them now. If there's no reason you have to be apart. So that's the way I'm at. Like I like her like that. Like just holding her hand makes me high for 4 days, and I'm not exaggerating. You know what I mean? Like going to church when I touch it, when she just holds, and I don't want to do that because I feel like that's if you ain't with my girlfriend, then you shouldn't be touching me, right? Uh, Even though it's just holding hands, it's still something like she must be getting energy. She likes it, and she's holding my hand, and I'm getting. But I'm like, that's what I do with someone that I'm into, not someone that I don't want to be with for 2 years, right? So, and she brought me a monkey over. She came and visit me twice now, and I brought me McDonald's. But I've been talking to her for a couple of years, and she gave me her number too finally, but she never answers the phone. And I left her 3 voicemails. I'm not gonna, it is what it is, and that's fine. I'll be her friend, you know what I mean? And there you go, right? What else can you do? But seriously, when someone says, "Well, I'm not going to be ready for something for a couple of years," that just they're not interested. If it changes, it changes. But you got to do what you got to do and move on, right? I mean, I like her, and she hasn't done anything wrong to me. Uh, but she says,
"Widget has finished loading."
"Oh, my computer's talking." But she says things like, "I love you" and "I miss you." That's what kind of started getting me with the feelings. You know what I mean? And then grabbing my hand and holding it in my hand and stuff when I go to the dispensary to pick up my stuff. This is someone that I go just like basically to the store, but you know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, wait a minute, how does she feel? But then she's, oh, I'm not going to be ready for nothing for a couple of years. That's just a little odd, ain't it? But I want to hold your hand and I tell you I love you and I think about you. She says these things to me and I say them back because I was starting to feel, you know what I mean? Wouldn't you be too if a girl's pouring it on, right?
Oh yeah,
And then,
definitely.
right? She's telling you, I miss you when you're going in to see her. What do you mean you miss me? But we've been talking, every time I go in there for the last 3 years since I lost my sight almost. So, and she's been with me through that too, kind of, and through her, we've got getting, uh, splitting up with her ex and stuff. And I never wanted to go past any of that. I didn't ask her for her number. I didn't any of that until she said she was breaking up with her ex. And I knew she was going through problems because she seems like she's been through a lot. So that's why I tried to reach out. I was like, at least we'll talk. It don't have to be a certain way. But it's a little odd when you say all these things and then you act a different way. I kind of get different vibes from it. But again, it is what it is. All you can do is let someone live their own existence, and you just got to take it the way it is. You can't really project on them, and you can't get disappointed if something isn't the way you dreamed it would be. I mean, you know what I mean? Because you don't know how people are going to be. So that's the way that is, right? Uh, as far as technology now, did you hear about they got this AI stuff now, of course, and they're hooking up to people's brain, right, with computers, and the computer reads your brain waves, and it can tell what you're thinking, and it will do like you want a cup of coffee. It can tell your brain the brain waves when you're thinking of the coffee, and it will start making you coffee. So this is like Tony Stark, man. This is like future stuff. They're going to put implants, and this is what they've been saying. People are going to get augmented, right? They can put a chip in your brain, and you just got to think about you want some coffee, and the computer will make you coffee. or you're a robot. You know what I mean? This is, I mean, what's next? Talk about dangerous. And then I heard this here. Check this out. You know what fingerprints are, right? Everybody has their own individual fingerprints. Even twins have different fingerprints. And I heard that the fingerprint is actually your soul's barcode. Okay, so your soul has
Really?
your soul has a barcode, right? And
I guess.
that's your fingerprint. Well, it's kind of deep to think about it, but even twins are different, right? Because every soul is different. Not one soul is the same. So it's spirituality, uh, spiritually thinking. Your fingerprint is your soul's barcode. I never heard it put that way, but we're all unique, and we're scanned in. You go to heaven. Remember they say something about the gates, right? And you go up there, and maybe that's what happens. It's like Back to the Future. You scan your fingerprint in. And that's how they say you tell if you've been good or bad. You get into heaven by your fingerprint. But hey Google, what did I want you to remember?
Here's what he told me. First, Ashley Lisa Graham's fingerprint AI America's Most Wanted. Second,
Hey Google, stop. Okay, one more. America's Most Wanted. I want to mention that again for y'all. The show comes on Monday nights now, the new one again, and check that out, please. Help catch some of these scumbags, as what he calls them, the dirt bags. I crack up with John Walsh. His son was killed a long time ago, and I believe the story was that all they found was his head, his little boy. And I don't even want to think about that, but being human is being sad sometimes, you know. But ever since then, he's been trying to catch people, bad guys, whatever they call it, 1,100 some people, and it does help. I mean, they've caught so many people, and it's just anybody can. It's just one man is everyone, or every man. One man is every man, and one man can make a difference. And if something's going on, call, help somebody. If you see someone on this show and you can identify somebody, call America's Most Wanted. They always give you the number, so check that show out. And I'm not doing, I'm not endorsed or anything from this, but I want to help people. So if you can help America's Most Wanted, help them too. So that's my public, what's it called? Something for today. I forget the word. I got so much in my head, but that's my public awareness or whatever for today. So yeah, the Penguin game we lost. What? 3-1, 4-1,
2-1.
2-1. Oh, that wasn't bad. Oh, it was 2-0 for a while, right?
It was 1-0 Pence, and then they tied it
Oh,
at
then
one,
he
and
scored two. Oh, Jesus.
yeah,
Crosby though, he's got 30 now, 31.
31.
Jeez, he's doing good. I mean, he doesn't usually get 50. He's not usually a 50-goal scorer, but he's got 30. Did they say 30 now for 20 seasons? And that's more than Gretzky. He's got 30. He's got 20 30-goal seasons. Talk about consistency. Do you remember a guy Mike Gardner used to play?
Yeah, oh yeah.
See, you're a hockey. Yeah, you're like me. My brother-in-law don't remember him, and he's a huge hockey guy. And I'm like, Mike Gardner had 700 goals. He was like top 5 in points for a long time, but he was the same way. He only scored 30 goals a season, but he did it for like 15. He was like Hank Aaron, right? In baseball. Hank Aaron became the home run king. He beat Babe Ruth, back in the day, because he had longevity. He only hit 30 some home runs a year. He didn't ever hit 50, and he only hit like 40, like maybe once or something. So, uh, Mike Gardner, yeah, he was 700 goal scorer, that guy, and he played for the Rangers. Who else? Do you remember who else? I remember the Rangers at the end of his career, because he didn't wear a helmet either, right? He was one of them guys with no helmets at the end. Do you remember who else he played for, Gardner? Nah?
Minnesota, I think.
Minnesota.
Back when they were the North
The
Stars.
Stars, okay. He was an unknown guy, though, but he got all those goals. Jesus. Who else was up there? There was a couple other guys that were up there. And, of course, Lemieux had 700 goals. Lemieux was up there. He was like 7th in points when he retired. Now everybody's passing him up. Do you remember that goal he scored? This is my favorite goal of all time. And that one where he put that stick down between his leg and flipped it up over. They had him all tied up, and he flipped it up over the goalie's shoulder, and it went in, and they didn't even know. Even Mike Langwood didn't know it went in until they watched the replay, and they saw he did it on purpose. And everybody, ever since then, people have been doing that. put the stick between the leg and flick it up. They do it on purpose now. But Lemieux was the first one that actually did it. He had to do it because he had no way to get the stick on the puck. So he put the stick under his leg, between his one leg, and flicked the puck with one leg up over the goalie's shoulder. Remember that? And
Yeah, I remember that.
that was my favorite goal of all, best goal of all time. Because there's no way, I mean, how could you ever do one better than that? And my favorite football catch is Antonio Freeman, Brett Favre. You know what I'm talking about? I think it was Monday Night Football. I don't know if it was playoff, but that one where he fell down and the ball never hit the ground. It bounced off his hip or something. Antonio Freeman. Yeah, and he caught the ball and kept going. Everybody else stopped. And he ran in for a touchdown. He had about 20 yards to go. But everybody stopped. So they thought the ball hit the ground. And it just popped up off him in the air. And he just caught it and ran in. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because it bounced like 3 times. You know, it bounced off the defenseman, bounced off the receiver, then bounced up in the air, and then he caught it. Like he rolled around and caught it. And then he went in. Check those out on YouTube, anybody. Antonio Freeman, Brett Favre, best catch. And then Lemieux's goal with it flipped between his legs. I couldn't believe that. They didn't even know he scored on purpose. They thought it just went in, the announcers. Because nobody done that. I mean, now people throw it in the air and they bat it in like a baseball. And they, you ever seen them put it on the stick and they go around behind the net and tuck it in? They do all kinds of crazy stuff. But that was one of the first times they did that. So, yeah, we're wrapping up the second season, and we'll be starting season 3 now, the podcast. So,
Yep.
we had Ernie Hudson on recently. This season we had Dean Cain, who's Superman, and Lois and Clark, The New Adventures. We had the dude that did Marty McFly's voice on the Back to the Future video game. He was another celebrity. We got celebrity cameos. Go check those out on the social media. And I'm working on some songs. I got the lyrics recorded again because I got some stuff erased accidentally. And like I said, if I didn't have gremlins, I wouldn't have friends. But got some more beats here, and I got my piano. I might record a little bit on my keyboard to show people that I actually can play with one finger being handicapped, but I can still do it, So I'm going to do, like, when I do my music, I'm going to do my background, just a little couple notes. I'm going to do those on my own and just cut them. My sister will help me cut them and paste them with the Gold Wave. It's audio software. So I can do my little 3 or 4 little notes. I can still, and then that way I can have my own original background music. And if I do something like a horror movie like Elm Street, like when I do, because I wrote a couple Freddy raps about Freddy, I can do the theme on my own, I just got to figure out how to play it. I think it starts with E flat or E sharp or whatever the E one is. And then plus I know do 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 do. That's only 2 notes right there. When you do 1 2 buckle my shoe or 1 2 Freddy's coming for you, which is when he took the nursery rhyme 1 2 buckle my shoe, right? And Wes Craven made 1 2 Freddy's coming for you. So
3 4 better lock your door.
Yeah, but that was a nursery rhyme, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so people don't remember that. They remember the Freddy. And Freddy's nursery rhyme took place of the original one. But that's only 2 notes. That's just like da 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 da. But I can do that too. So Nightmare or Friday the 13th doesn't really have their own theme. You know what I mean? It's just like it's just kind of like I don't know. They don't really have a theme. It's they have a Jason sound, but they don't really have their own music. They change it up through the movies. It's kind of like Psycho was the theme from Psycho. It's more like a it's like a riff on Psycho, but you could do just anything scary. And of course Halloween, I can play that on the piano. I learned how to do that, playing by ear. You got that, and then you got that, because you have that playing in the background. And you got all right, because you have the extra note sometimes. All right, it's John Carpenter did the music for his movies too, wrote them, right? And then sometimes you just have that one note, it's just ding, 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 did it, or it's like did it, did it, did it, right in the background. That's all he plays in some of the scenes. John Carpenter, one note on the piano, did, did it, did it, did it. It's like tension, right? You ever notice that?
Yeah,
Instead of just not
noticed
having
that.
anything, you just have that one note playing. It's tension, man.
Mhm.
And then yeah, so but I what do you got to say about the last since you've been on the podcast? How about that? How are you enjoying talking about movies and past
Yeah, yeah,
our
definitely.
our childhood, and we reconnected after what 30 years or so. If y'all want to check that out, go
What'd you say?
check that out on the podcast.
Are you?
Chris and I after school elementary, we actually met real young, and then I remembered his name after I lost my sight. It just came into my third eye in my mind. I just saw one day his old number, and by grace of God, his mom still had the same landline, and I called it and left a message, and she gave it to Chris, and he called me the next day, and we've been talking ever since. About a year or so or more now, I think.
Yeah, it's been a year.
Time don't have meaning to me anymore since I haven't been able to see a clock or and I don't know night and day and dark and light as far as none of that really matters. That's a man-made thing, you know what I mean? So I just do whatever. I have to have schedules as far as other people, but as far as my own things, I do what I can on whatever, and I don't really put a time on it because I don't even tell. I literally can't tell if it's 5 minutes or an hour or two. I don't have that going on anymore. It's crazy. You know how you could kind of guess how much time goes by when you're sitting or whatever. I don't have that anymore. It's my time is just not there, and even my equilibrium. I feel like I'm not on the ground. I just feel like there's nothing around me. It's weird. I just feel like I'm just floating or not really floating because I don't feel like I'm moving, but I feel like I'm just in a spot and I can't feel around me. It's crazy, you know. Uh, so I can't tell how far away from my stuff I am and whatnot. I don't know, but God gives you what you need, so it's all for something. And I said when I lost my sight, I'm going to help anybody any way I can the rest of my life because I've been close to death so many times, 30 times, and I've had over 30 people die that I've known, and I'm here for a reason, just like we all are. And so I started this podcast and asked people to help. Well, whoever wants to come on, and you know, and I'm glad that Chris talks to me and wants to help. We're the horror icons. We got over 100 years of horror movie knowledge. So, but yeah, so you've enjoyed all this, and I came and saw you that one time on the bus. We met at Wendy's, right? Was it Wendy's?
Yeah.
Your mom came. That was nice. And I love her. She's my mom too. We're all related. So all is what? You know, cherish who you got. You know what I mean? It's not about what you don't have. If you don't have it, you don't need it, apparently. So, but yeah, we got that. And what time is it?
6:40.
Okay. We've been doing about 30 minutes or so. So we'll get ready to wrap up the podcast here. But yeah, what else?
Yeah.
I want to hear some more. Okay, yeah, about Chris. Uh, how about, so yeah, we went to elementary school. Do you remember we did some plays, right? We were, I don't know if it was a particular class, art class. But yeah, we did. Do you remember California Raisins? Didn't we do? I heard it through the grapevine.
I think so.
You remember that? See, I remember. So I don't forget. That's the thing. And people were always like, "You got such a good memory." I'm like, "Yeah." But yeah, remember we did plays in school. I remember we sang because I was into that. I had the California Raisins cassette, and I remember they had a cartoon and they had little action figures, and it was a group of like animated California. They were called the California Raisins. There were four raisins, and they sang and they had a soundtrack. And I think we did a play or we did one of their songs and we sang it on stage. And you were in there. I remember then we do Peanuts, right? We did Snoopy like Charlie Brown. I remember that too. And we sang some songs from Charlie Brown in one of the assemblies or whatever they were called. Uh, what was it called? About flying a kite and stuff. I forget that song, but yeah, do you remember that? We did Peanuts. We
Yeah.
sang a song. I think we put rubber gloves on with the California Raisins because that was weird. There was no gloves, so that was our costume: sunglasses, right, and rubber gloves. because we were at there was a hospital there because it was for disabled people physically and mentally. See, we had to go. You had to go to special schools back then if there was something quote unnormal about you or whatever. But yeah, that was our costume for California Raisins. We had sunglasses and rubber gloves, and because the California Raisins wore white gloves and sunglasses, and then we did Peanuts. It was a play, I remember, because there was a wheelchair ramp in the back, and I remember being scared because I had to go up that real high ramp to get on the stage. But I was up there in front of all them people. That was scary looking out there and seeing them. And years later, I went on. I did a couple piano recitals for a couple of schools with one finger playing the keyboard. I did Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I think, and I forget the other couple of times. I did a couple of talent shows later on, but yeah, we did that when we were in elementary school. And you were into hockey after that. I mean, and we got reconnected, and we're like hockey. I was into horror movies, comedy, all these things we had in common. And you influenced me a lot just in those couple of years. And we went to school, 2 or 3 years together in elementary, I remember. And all these years later, man, you had influenced me a lot. Like we both were into a lot of the same things and all that. It's cool. So hopefully, I had some good effects on you and keep you positive. And we were younger, we had good times, right? So and now we're having good times because we got each other and your mom, me, you, and her. So so like I said, it's what you got. But well, what do I always say? You can't judge a book. Everyone has a story, and you can't judge a book by its cover.
Book by its cover.
So next time you walk by somebody, smile at them, and don't be ignorant. Don't look down or look at your phone and like they're not a person. That's so rude. And be the light, right? Love's a choice, and so is the hate. And we will be back here soon. I love you all.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody. Have a good night.
Yep. Love you too, sir.